Okay, you guys are in for a treat today as I'm bringing an extra video this week. I normally don't cover topical things as my type of videos are meant to be stuff that lasts a long time, but I think it's appropriate for this case. A video I made back in June is why League of Legends is so toxic, and it's one of my best performing videos too. Throughout the course of seasons 9, 10, and 11, Riot has been making a couple systematic changes to their player behavior detection in an attempt to combat toxicity. You might have seen it already, stuff like the loss mitigation whenever someone AFKs you lose less LP than you normally would, but earlier this week, depending on when I upload the video, some interesting news dropped that triggered a massive public response. People have already made videos on it, Reddit is going nuts as per usual, so being the discussion guy that I am, I want to make an episode going through my thoughts on the proposed removal of all chat that's coming in patch 11.21. By the way, I apologize in advance if the video looks or sounds rushed. There won't be any fancy edits on screen since I'm trying to get this video out while it's still relevant. I hope you still enjoy watching though. If you want, you can minimize this and treat it as a podcast. Just don't forget to leave a like if you may be so kind. All chat is a feature in the game that allows you to communicate and send messages to the enemy team. Normally, when you type in game, the only people who can see it are your own teammates. In order to type in all chat, you have to enter the command /all, which then broadcasts your message to all 9 other players on the map. Not many people use it because a good half or more of all League players don't even type to begin with, but sometimes you see the occasional banter or trash talk or even public ranting taking place. Let's take a look at their game updates post as they explain their thought process. While most of our focus around behavioral systems in 2021 has been on gameplay-based behaviors like AFKing and inting, we've heard from you that verbal abuse has been a rising problem this year too. We're working on a number of changes to systematically address this, but one direct change you will see soon is that in patch 11.21, we're disabling all chat in match-made queues. I'm gonna agree with Riot on this one. Flaming is at an all-time high now, everyone calling each other dog water or people spam pinging for a single mistake. The game is getting progressively more and more toxic, no one can dispute that. So let's continue. While all chat can be the source of fun social interaction between teams as well as some good-hearted banter, right now negative interactions outweigh the positives. We're aware that verbal abuse happens in team chat too, so disabling all chat won't get rid of abuse altogether, but team chat also plays an important team coordination function, so the potential value it brings is much higher, even if it can also host some negative experiences. Now, despite not being a very influential part of a League game, people are unhappy about this course of action for a lot of reasons. Vanderil already made a video screenshotting some responses on Reddit, and everyone in the comments is complaining about how Riot is any % glitchless speedrunning their game's downfall. What I wanted to do in this video was compare the positive implications and reasons behind removing all chat with the negative ones, so it's similar to my mechanics videos on stealth, mobility, and such. Just to establish up front, I am thoroughly against the removal of all chat for reasons I'll get into later, but I do want to consider the potential good things to come out of this. In typical fashion, let's begin by outlining the pros and then go into the cons. Probably the biggest reason supporting the removal of all chat is what was talked about in the post I read earlier. All chat might make a game more funny or intense, but most of the time it's not for the right reasons. More often than not, all chat exacerbates negativity, as players are highly inclined to trash talk or stir up trouble for the sake of their own egos. Aside from the GGs at the end of every game, what are the most common things you see being typed in all chat? Report this player, right? Lots of all chat messages asking for reports, especially if someone is doing bad. There's also recently a lot of people saying something along the lines of top gap, jungle diff, better support wins, mid canyon as a way to describe the difference in skill between opposing players of that role. And of course, you run into the occasional all chat arguments between two players. That 65% win rate Smurf saying this elo is trash and he's doomed, while his teammates go on about how he got boosted because he's 1 in 7. And how can I forget, when you fail a tower dive and your opponent types question mark in chat, even though he likely peed his pants and survived only through sheer luck. All chat usually is weaponized by the winning team to further rub salt into the wounds of the losing team in the hopes that they tilt even harder, or again because it satisfies their ego. No one really uses it for friendly banter or casual joking, especially not in ranked. I wholeheartedly acknowledge this myself. I've seen too many teams, both mine and the enemies, where they actively encourage the person trolling or inting the game simply because they're benefiting from it, and it's disgusting. Not to sound like a goody two-shoes, but I do not like losing or winning games because that one player is salty they're not the main character of the anime and ruins a perfectly winnable game. And no, I am not one of those players who never surrenders. I'm talking about an easy win, but they just don't know how to swallow their pride. Doesn't matter whose team this player's on, it's nothing but double standards when players encourage trolls and feeders. They would be just as upset or annoyed if the inter was on their team, but since they're getting a free win out of it, they're all up for it. It's appallingly hypocritical. The second reason behind removing all chat is an evaluation of the benefits of it, or lack thereof. At the bottom of the post, it says, "We know this sucks for those of you who just want to compliment your lane opponent's skin or ask for a dance party in Baron Pit. but we believe the trade-off is worth it to cut down on the growing negativity all chat has been creating in your games. Neither talking about skins nor asking for a dance party in Baron Pit is of practical benefit. As of right now, all chat does nothing constructive for either team. In theory, they can completely remove it from the game and nothing of value will be lost. Communication with your allies is of paramount importance, but you don't need to talk to the enemy team. I mean, is it nice to have that privilege? Yeah, for sure. It happens infrequently, but sometimes you run into an opponent who's a good sport about winning or losing. I remember back in the summer I was in my master promos and I was playing Vladimir and my lane opponent was playing Mundo. We both agreed to truce and AFK farm for 20 minutes while our teammates fought 4v4. Both of us accepting that top lane is the most coin flip lane to ever exist was the most depressing yet wholesome game I had all year. By the way, my KDA was 0-0-0 at the end and I won, so obviously top gap. But if we were looking at it objectively, there's no negative consequence of removing all chat from a gameplay standpoint. Games will be played the same way, it doesn't detract from the experience at all. In a vacuum, the removal of all chat is by no means a bad thing, and if we look at it based on the feature by itself, it's understandable why they want to get rid of it. However, in any multiplayer game, it's not just the game you have to think about, but also the player's behaviors and response to the gameplay. That's where the cons come in. Riot doesn't seem to ever want to address the root causes that are responsible for the smoldering toxicity in League of Legends. While there's no practical benefit to having all chat in the game, there's also no practical benefit to removing it either. There is a growing problem with people flaming the living hell out of each other, don't get me wrong, but all chat flaming makes up an infinitesimal portion of all the toxicity in League. Most of the time, the verbal abuse and harassment you suffer come from your own teammates, not the enemy team. Sure, you might get tilted when your lane opponent makes fun of you for losing 1v1, but when that one player is spam pinging alive or respawning, you know what I'm talking about, that's even more aggravating. Moreover, chat-based punishments are the least effective ways to combat toxicity in the game considering there are built-in countermeasures to reduce exposure to it already. For one, there already is the option to turn off all chat, so the fact that they're permanently removing it makes no sense when players can individually decide if they want to opt in or opt out by going to the game settings. As for dealing with obnoxious players, there's a mute button for both chat and pings. Naturally, there's nothing you can do to prevent your 0 and 10 Yasuo from rage quitting the game or your support from griefing your AD carry. Flaming obviously isn't good and negatively impacts your team's chances of success. I don't think anyone feels compelled enough to improve their gameplay when someone is telling them how much they f*** their mom, but it doesn't directly influence the game. Intentional feeding, griefing, or AFKing does. Like I said, all chat represents a very small portion of the toxicity in League. 99% of chat-based flame comes from your own teammates, and 99% of toxicity in general comes from direct in-game actions. If we were going down this route, it would probably be a better decision to just remove chat entirely. There are enough pings to communicate what you need. Enemies missing, danger nearby, on my way, requesting help, area is warded, objective spawning soon, cooldowns for ultimate and summoners, able to purchase an item. We have plenty of ways to communicate, so if they're gonna remove all chat, they might as well remove team chat since team chat will produce a more tangible effect. That's how little all chat matters. Almost no players get punished for griefing or inting, not unless they make it so blatantly obvious like selling all their items, buying Moby boots, and pulling a Tyler 1 in 2016. Now in Riot's defense, it's very hard to tell beyond reasonable doubt whether or not a player is genuinely having a bad game or if they're trying to lose on purpose, especially if they don't say anything in chat that would allude to their intentions. There's always enough plausible deniability to assume that they are actually having a bad game. All the same, that doesn't mean they should just throw their hands up in the air and give up. Removing chat does not change toxicity in League of Legends. In fact, it might make it even worse. This next point might be very controversial, but players are people, and people have their own ways to cope with stress, frustration, or anger. Some may control their temperament very well and not let it get to them. Others might be more expressive. I know everyone likes to watch those rage compilations of people breaking keyboards, screaming into a pillow, or throwing their computer out the window. But that is their way of venting that pent-up energy, albeit in a very concerning way. In that same way, typing in chat is how players get flame out of their system. Sometimes complaining in all chat is a way for players to keep their head in the game. Instead of bottling up that frustration until it bursts, they let it out quickly in order to focus. Now for me, there's a difference between flaming and toxicity. Flaming would be something like how the hell did you miss smite to a Janna tornado, or what the hell are you doing bot group with a team. Toxicity would be, sexism, racism, telling someone to delete System 32 in real life. Essentially, flaming only operates within the confines of the game, and toxicity is personal attacks in real life. Please do not misunderstand, I'm not saying flaming is a good thing, it does nothing to help the situation, but the reality is people are humans and have their own ways of venting anger and stress. That's life, not everyone has the patience of a saint, gamers in particular. We have very short fuses, that's how it's been since day one. and for Riot to tell everyone to shut up and smile is not only unrealistic, but extremely dangerous. Removal of a player's ability to chat will not magically make them behave better. What will end up happening is they will look for other ways to get it out of their system. That is why there's such a rise in soft inting, griefing, or more inconspicuous ways to lose games. Players get chat restricted, so they turn to the only other possible solution, physically damaging their team's chances of winning the game. This might be just a personal thing, but I would rather have someone who yells at me calling me hard stuck and piss low, but they still try hard and play to win, than a silent player who steals my farm and turbo ins games. I don't play League to make friends, I play to win. I have no problem getting flamed by my teammates if it means getting a free win. Also, I can just mute them and mind my own business. I can't stop a player from feeding games though. Sometimes in life, you have to choose between the lesser of the two evils. I'm willing to bet money that if Riot asked their entire community to choose between removing flamers or inters, everyone would choose inters. Flaming isn't a good thing in the game. I'm not defending people who are assholes in chat. But in competitive games, you can never truly remove all toxicity. It's a competitive game. Competition invites challenge, challenge incites conflict, and conflict breeds toxicity. The goal of every competitive game is to reduce that toxicity as much as humanly possible, and Riot doesn't seem to know how to do this because they're afraid to put their foot down and make the hard decisions. To wrap things up, while there are benefits to removing all chat, they're superficial and fail to address the real problems affecting the game. To me, this is just their way of stalling for time. The team has been kicking the can for years now when it comes to player behavior, and then they occasionally make a post like this saying we're doing our best to reduce toxicity, even though the game has only continued to get worse and worse. I know this is a complicated situation and there's no easy win-win answer, but it's almost laughable how out of touch they seem with their own game. Toxicity is rampant everywhere, not just in North America. Korea, Europe, China, literally every server is getting more inhospitable for players. They have to do something radically substantial if they want to fix this problem, not these small tiny changes that do nothing in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, that's gonna be it for today. Sorry for such a serious and kind of negative video. I try to give Riot as much credit as I can give them, but stuff like this is honestly disrespectful to the community. Believe me, I'm trying to remain optimistic. I'm sucking in all the copium in the blind hopes that Riot will somehow turn this game around. Even after seeing this post, I'm like, Rito, please, fix your game. So do not get up in my case for being a doomer about this. But let me know what you think about this whole ordeal in the comments, and again, I apologize for the rush video, I just wanted to get this out as soon as possible. If you enjoyed it though, I'd appreciate it if you left a like, really helps out the channel. Don't forget to subscribe for future content, follow me on Twitter and join my Discord server, and lastly check out my other discussion videos if you haven't yet. But for now, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for the next one. Take care.